Hi, I'm Leslie Appling, and I'm the Program Director for NCTC Radiologic Technology, and this is the information session. So for the Radiologic Technology program, it's 60 semester credit hours. That does count your prereqs as well. So you have 40 hours in the program and then 20 hours of prerequisites. When you graduate in the program, you will earn an Associate of Applied Science in Radiography. So our program always starts in the fall semester, so it goes fall, spring, summer, fall, spring. And then once you graduate, you qualify for certification by the ART to become a registered technologist in radiography. So that's the big thing that we're working for this whole time, is to pass that test. So graduating is one thing, but what you have to do after you graduate is take this national test by the ART to become a certified and registered technologist. So that's what we're working for towards these 5 semesters. Radiologic technologists practice under supervision of a physician, so that's where all our orders come from. It's from doctors. We don't order anything ourselves. Everything we do comes from the doctor. They may perform basic radiographic duties independently or may assist physicians in more complex radiologic situations. So some things that sometimes people don't think of with x-ray techs is fluoroscopy. Fluoroscopy is basically x-rays in real time. So we watch as patients drink barium and it goes down, and we watch it go through their esophagus and go into their stomach, and we do stuff in real time, and we basically act as an assistant to the radiologist. There's multiple fluoroscopy studies that we do. Another thing that sometimes people don't think about is surgery. We have a little C-arm that we take in surgery, and we assist the surgeon when needed. So we go to surgeries to do procedures like hips and port placements and wrist and just anything else that would be needed as a rad tech. So surgery is something we also go to as well. Portables. So basically portables, we have all our x-ray rooms in the hospital, but what if someone's on the 9th floor and they're too sick to come down to us? So we take our portable machine and go up to the 9th floor and do our x-rays in their room. So we do mobile radiography in the hospital as well. So it's just some things people don't really think about when they think about x-ray tech. The average salary for a newly graduated x-ray tech ranges from $50,000 to $65,000 depending on hours, benefits, and location. So now really is a good time to get in the field, kind of like nurses. COVID burned out a lot of people, so there's a lot of job openings now. Maybe not as prevalent as it was a couple years ago, but sometimes people are still offering sign-on bonuses and tuition reimbursement and moving fees and stuff like that for rad techs as well. So it's a really good time to get in the field, and you just grow as an x-ray tech. There's always a job opened. Shifts are flexible. You can work days, evening, nights, weekends, days versus evening versus nights, overnights, and weekends. You're always going to get a pay difference. A lot of our students go on to pursue other modalities. They'll get registered in like CT or mammo or MRI, and so getting another modality does increase your salary as well. So it's just, I always kind of say, I always obviously do want to promote my program, but I feel like a lot of people, when they quit jobs, it's just because they get stuck and they get bored. With our field, you have so many opportunities to grow and to go into different things. I mean, you could all go into become a teacher. You can go to become a radiology manager. You can basically be one step below a radiologist and be a registered radiology assistant. So there's just so many different pathways that you can take, so many places you can work, hospitals, outpatient clinics, surgery centers, doctors' offices. I mean, it's very unlimited. So there's just a lot of different pathways, and everybody kind of takes a different pathway. So it's just a really good field to grow into. So for our prerequisites, you have A&P 1, 2, Comp 1, in college algebra or statistics. So those prerequisites must be taken before you enter the program in the fall. So they still can be taken in the summer. It's better if you have those completed in the spring. We'll get to that later, but those just have to be completed before you start the program in the fall. And the co-requisite psychology and a language, philosophy, or culture or creative arts. A lot of people do art appreciation, music appreciation, stuff like that for that credit, or philosophy, something like that. But those can be taken in the program, but we do recommend to go ahead and take those before you get in the program, so all your focus can be on X-ray, and then also too, you get more priority points that we'll talk about in a little bit. So for the application, it's going to be open March 1st through May 31st. So to get an application, it's located in my NCTC, so you have to apply to the school first and get accepted to the school, and then that's when you get all your login, can be able to get into my NCTC and get the application. So when you log into my NCTC, it's on student services, and on the left side it says radiologic technology, and that's when you would find the application. So how we do our application, how we do our selective process is your T's plus your priority points. So T's, I always kind of like to say it's like a mini ACT. There's a reading, math, science, and English section. So what we do is take this total score right here. So we take that total score right there, and that's going to be your total score for your T's. So for the T's, it can be taken twice in a calendar year. You can take it either way. You can take it actually proctored at a school, or you can take it online, which would be proctored. So there's kind of two different ways to take it, but you must have at least a total score of a 70 to apply. So we'll kind of get into some statistics from previous years as to why we're doing that now. But you have to have at least a total score of 70 to have your application to even be considered. So you can find more information on the TEAS website, and you can find the TEAS website through our radiology homepage, but this is kind of a snapshot of the TEAS. 45 questions in reading, 38 in math, 50 in science, 37 in English, 209 minutes, 170 questions. So that's kind of a snapshot of it. If you go to the TEAS webpage, you can also see different resources, study materials, things like that. I've had students say they use Mometrics as a study guide, but you can kind of find more information about that through the TEAS website. So that's the first thing we kind of look at is your T scores. The T's does need to be for allied health. We will take the nursing one as well, but if you're just taking it for us, pick the allied health one. We will take the nursing one as well. And then you have your priority points. So the total amount of priority points you can receive is 12. So basically you're grading A and P1. If you get an A, it's 3 points, B 2 points, C 1 point, and then your non-radiology curriculum coursework grade point average. So from those 6 classes that we talked about, the co-recs and prereqs, 3 points for 4.0, 3.5, and 3. And then how much of that coursework have you completed? 16 hours, 10 to 15 hours is 2, 4 to 9 hours would be 1. So total priority points you can receive is 12. So what we do is your T scores plus your priority points. So for example, if your total score on the T's was 79.3 and you had 10 priority points, your total score for your application would be 89.3. So that's how we do our application. That's the only 2 things we look at. You're basically a name on a piece of paper, and that's what we look at. So that's how we do our application process. So we are going to take 18 students for the fall of 2026. The candidates with the highest next total admission points will be listed as alternates. So we'll take the top 18, we'll send them acceptance letters, and then the next 5 students will be alternates. So if one of those 18 students decided not to accept their position, we will start contacting alternates. So for the T's has been very high over the past couple years, and it seems like it just keeps increasing. So kind of basing our, kind of giving you what it was last year, the T's range for the students who got in the fall of 25, they had a T's from 86 to 96. So pretty high last year. You know, I'm not sure what it will be this year and who will apply, but that's kind of what it was last year to give you an idea. So their total admission points, their T's plus priority points was 98 to 107. So the students who got in fall of 25, that was their the total admission points was that, and those were the students who got in. So it's always just going to be different every year. It depends the pool of applicants that applied this year, but just trying to give statistics from last year to kind of see where things are. So since T's range were that high and they were pretty close to that range the year before, that's why we have to basically say 70 or above. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, it really just wastes our time and your time if your score isn't high enough to be competitive. So it has to be a 70 for the T's to have it, to do the application. There's just kind of an expected program cost. If you're in district, in state, for $4,480. Tuition and fees and things like that can change, but that is for the 5 semesters of the program, and there's in-state and out-of-state. So there's kind of the tuition and fees for the 5 semesters you're in the program. And these are just other things you would have to pay for, and this is just kind of an estimate. You will do a criminal background check and drug screen once you get accepted to the program. You have to have a liability insurance to go to clinicals, film badges, markers, trajectus, how much ever you want to spend on your scrubs. You do have to have a physical to basically a doctor stating you are physically capable of doing this job. That ART exam that we talked about at the end is $225. Books can kind of range depending on physical books versus ebooks versus if you got a copy from a previous student, so that can fluctuate as well. The last semester we have registry review materials and a Kettering seminar to help prepare for the registry, so it's about $460. And then our composites, our pictures we take at the end, are about $50. So that kind of is an estimate. Stuff can fluctuate a little bit, but that's just kind of an estimate for other required fees minus tuition. So a lot of people always ask about physicals and immunizations. You do not have to do a physical or an immunization before you get accepted to the program. It would really be pointless to do all that, and you didn't get accepted. But once you get accepted to the program and you say that you're going to accept your spot, that's when we kind of start sending you stuff about your physical and immunization. So you do have to have a physical by a physician saying you can, you're physically able to do this job. You will have to have CPR. We do offer a CPR course when we have orientation in August. And then you'll have to have certain immunizations, DDaP, MMR, TB, varicella, flu, hepatitis B. Hepatitis B does take 6 months to complete. So you will start clinicals. You start the program in the fall. You'll start clinicals after spring break, so in March. So hepatitis B does need to be started pretty early because that has to be completed by the time you go to clinicals. So, but all this is just basically, this is stuff that would be coming, just to be aware of. Nothing you would have to do now, but just that you will have to have a physical, you will have to have immunizations. So those are the immunizations. Physical, you do have to have medical insurance in case something happens to you at clinicals. We kind of send one called K-12 that you can apply for that's pretty cheap in regards to medical insurance if you don't already have any. So this is kind of what the semesters look like. You would take your prerequisites. The first fall semester, you would be on campus Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday, you would have intro to radiography with Jessica from 2 to 4 on Monday. Tuesday, you would have patient care with Janice from about 8 to 12. And on Wednesday, you would have basic radiographic procedures with me from 8 to 11. And then this also has a lab with it as well. Either your lab would be on Tuesday or Wednesday. So just depending, we split you up kind of in a lab group of 6, 6, and 6. So first semester you're on campus Monday through Wednesday. Second semester you're on campus Monday through Wednesday as well. And then after spring break is when you start clinicals. So after spring break, you would be on campus Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and go to clinicals Thursday, Friday. So it would be 2 8-hour days for clinicals. Our program is more heavily weighted on courses the first 2 semesters, and then once the summer hits, you only have 1 class on Mondays from 9 to 12, and then you're in clinicals the rest of the week doing 3 10-hour days, so 30 hours a week. Same thing for the fall. We only meet on Mondays for 2 courses. You're doing clinicals for the rest of the week for 30 hours. And then that last spring semester, you actually only come to campus 1 time a month, and then you're still doing 30 hours of clinicals a week until spring break, and then clinicals stop after spring break. So you basically go to clinicals for a year. So that's kind of the outline of your schedule, those 5 semesters you're in the program. There's kind of a snapshot of it as well, kind of with the times and the labs. So there is a lab in patient care, basic radiographic procedures, and intermediate radiographic procedures as well. So for practicum for our clinical sites, we have 12 months of hands-on experience, and we're located kind of all over kind of DFW, Gainesville, and kind of in southern Oklahoma. So we base your clinical site on your grades, where you live, and kind of assign you those clinical sites. So a lot of people do come from the Denton area, so you will have to be driving a little bit to clinicals. Kind of the average drive time is 30 to 40 minutes each way to clinicals. But I always kind of say it's a year-long job interview. You can do anything for a year. So you will know your clinical placement by the end of the first semester. So where we have clinical placement, Envision Imaging Centers, everyone does a rotation through. Envision Imaging is more of an outpatient center and not like a hospital, so everybody does a 6-week rotation through there. And we have sites at Briscoe, Plano, Southlake, Denton, and Flower Mound. Legion Orthopedic Hospital is a surgery center in Carrollton. So we have affiliations with Med-City Alliance in Fort Worth, Dallas, Louisville, Argyle, and Plano. Methodist Dallas, Mercy, Ardmore, Oklahoma, Munster, Texas, Nocona, Texas, MTMC here in Gainesville, Texas Health Presby in Dallas and Denton, AHS in Sherman, and Alliance Health in Durant. So that's kind of our clinical sites that we have at this moment, and that's where you would be placed for your clinical. So if you have any questions, please contact Nicole. She's our department assistant. She helps a lot with prospective students' applications and getting into the program. So if you have a question for her, there is her email.